We got a crazy Lane Hutson update as his NCAA coach speaks out on how Lane is leading the Boston University practices. We'll be diving into that, plus Coach Marty doing everything we want him to do as a team leader, plus Nick Suzuki reaching out to all the young guys who were cut from camp, just showing what a great captain he is. So all of that on this episode of Habs Digest. Let's dive into the first topic today, Jesse, and that's a bit of Nick Suzuki showing why he is the captain. We've kind of had a few, segments of the videos before talking about Nick Suzuki doing this stuff. Most recently, how Filip said Nick Suzuki was one of the first people to reach out to him and say, "You want to go to Tim Hortons?" And but yeah, we heard more from him today. Nick Suzuki makes a point to reach out to all the players cut from camp. Quote, "We'll probably see a few of them down the road at some point, so I just wish them the best going to Laval or Junior. A lot of the young guys had great camps and could still be here, but it's just a numbers game." And he's very right, Jesse. The Habs are very blessed to have such a deep prospect pool because a lot of the guys we're cutting might not get cut on some other teams. But the fact that he's reaching out to these guys and just staying connected, right? Showing like, I'm the leader of this team. You guys can reach out to me anytime you want. You're welcome here. Creating that organizational kind of camaraderie. We're going to get into that a bit later as well. But it's just like, I think the whole organizational standpoint on this is just perfect.
Solid point. Making a tight team throughout, even with the Rocket and with the Canadiens, right? Because as he said, a lot of these players he's going to end up seeing again. But you have to feel like Nick Suzuki is just a genuinely nice human being. Mm-hmm. Saint Nick, as some people call him. Well, actually, I haven't heard anybody call him that, but he right? Like he knows his role as a captain. Exactly. He's jolly, and he's doing it well. So it's really nice to see, like, in your opinion, Josh, like, do you think other captains, like the majority of other captains in NHL are like contacting the players after they're getting cut? Or you think it's just because he's a little bit of a younger guy that maybe feels more connected? What's your take on that?
I actually think you're kind of right on that. I think with him being a younger captain and with a lot of the guys coming up being young, I think it allows him to be more friendly with these guys, right? As opposed to like if you have a 38-year-old captain, you got 22-year-olds coming up, like there's a bit of a gap, right? It might not happen. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen because honestly, look, we cover the Habs. I'm not paying attention to the Vegas Golden Knights or the Stars captains like what they're doing, right? Joe Pavelski, I don't know. But like at the same time, I think you're very right. I think it's probably a little more rare, but you got to think too, Jesse, like that's part of the reason he was made captain, because he can connect with these young guys and he is sort of leading the future generation into hopefully another golden age of the Montreal Canadiens.
It's so true, and he's really taking that role so seriously, which he does, because this young team, when you're young, you need a captain. And you're almost thinking, okay, we have such a young team, and to get somebody so young, to kind of lead, is that the right choice? But again, it seems like we're lucky. We're getting like these young players, but that have maturity beyond their years. Cayden, Guhle, another example, possibly another future leader for this team as well. But, as we're going to get to in the next segment, I believe it's Nick Suzuki that's organizing the trip for Montembeault. So again, being a leader, knowing what his role is, and getting some nice time. I feel like it's shaping up nicely this year. We're a little bit healthier. We get that time together over in Montembeault. I think that's amazing for this team to be able to do.
Oh, I think so too. We're just going to dive straight into it. And yeah, it's not just Nick Suzuki doing the right things, even though he's like organizing this. It's also Coach Marty, right? And he sort of spoke out about the team spending a few days in Montembeault. And Marty said, it's a chance to get to know people better. Get them, as in the new players, acclimated with the group. And for the guys who are here, it's a chance to strengthen the group. So it's something I put a lot of value in. And this is very much a continuation of what we just said, of course. Like Nick Suzuki, Coach Marty, clearly working in tandem to bring the guys together. So if anyone's near Montembeault and you want to go maybe see some Habs, they might be spending some time over there. Who knows? Bit of a drive for me, but you never know. But at the same time, Jesse, we kind of talked about team camaraderie, right? And not only between the levels of the AHL and the NHL, but that NHL team, we've already seen it pay off, right? We've already seen Guhle, Slafkovsky, Xhekaj, like everyone on the team seems to be friendly with each other. There have been countless reports about this. And, this kind of thing is perfect for that, right? And if you Habs fans have been paying attention long enough, you might remember a while ago on a West Coast road trip, the Habs lost a couple of barn burners to the Calgary Flames and the Edmonton Oilers, and Guy Carbonneau said, you know what, guys, let's go bowling, like to take off some steam. And he was brutalized by the media and fans for that. But I think we're turning a different leaf here, right? With Coach Marty doing this, it's clearly worked so far for the chemistry, and I hope it continues working.
This is honestly a great sign for the Habs. And when you have a young team, this is so important. They're getting to spend a lot more time this year, both on the ice and kind of developing their systems of play. But then also, they're getting so much more time off the ice, which is so important as well. They didn't have the time to be able. I hope that they do this like as a yearly thing. They just have their yearly Montreal trip and just get some time to get to know each other and everything else. And I definitely think it's going to pay dividends for this team.
Yeah, it's pretty much the perfect thing you can do for team building. Maybe hopefully if they can make another trip to Quebec City. I didn't even know when they like I cover the Habs. I didn't even know they were here playing. There was those charity things. Anyway, sorry guys, come here. I want to watch you play. Montreal's not that far, but anyway, well that's enough about team building. It's great stuff, but we got to talk about a guy who could maybe build this team and just like build the team's future in a way. And yeah, this is just Lane Hutson. Bone's own Lane Hutson, Bone Man, whatever you want to call him. He's, I don't know what his height is listed at. This one says he's 5'10". This is Chris Peters, a prospect writer. He said he's listed at 5'10", 161. Doubt, but hey, you know what? I'll take it. Which is up in both categories from his draft year. But he says he doesn't fit the profile of a number one defenseman. He said there's really not a one-to-one comparison. And while a lot of people like to say Quinn Hughes, he actually thinks he's more like Johnny Gaudreau, and coincidentally, Lane Hutson has 4 more points than Johnny Gaudreau did at the same age, while Johnny Gaudreau played down the road at Boston College, while Lane plays at Boston University. So we got that, but not only that, Jesse, we're going to talk about that, but his coach, Jay Pandolfo at Boston University, speaking about how Lane stands out of practice, he leads by example. If you come to one of our practices and you watch him work throughout practice, it's impressive. His work ethic, he competes, he never quits, he wants to win everything. It's a way for our group. It goes a long way for the group, how he's wired that way. So first of all, this kind of thing, we'll talk about the Johnny Gaudreau thing in a second. But first of all, to hear this kind of thing, Jesse, we always know when the star players are the hardest working ones in the room, that motivates pretty much everyone else to step up their game. And the fact that we're hearing this about Lane Hutson, a guy with his skill set, a lot of the time when you have all the skill in the world, but you don't have the motivation, that's where prospects fall off. It feels like Lane, other than maybe his stature, has all the makings of a very, very solid player.
He's got it going on in both ways. If we look at the skill, like we mentioned earlier, 4 more points than Johnny Gaudreau at the same age, same team as a defenseman, which is an important, distinction to make here.
Yes.
And then we're speaking about like his work ethic. Like this is a guy that just competes. Not only does he have the skill, but he has the work ethic. And, he's kind of just wired that way, as he's been quoted recently by some people. It's like, and his whole family is kind of that way. They're super intense. But they just want to win. They're just competitors every time. And I don't know, it's just so funny. Whenever I think of Lane Hutson and just, that natural intensity, it just comes across in interviews. I think of Martin St. Louis, who is just so intense too, like in the best possible way. But it's like, is he ever intense, but like so intelligent, so well-spoken, a gamesman all the way through. I feel like they're really going to get along just being so highly skilled. That being so competitive, wanting to win, but, also coming across like as good teammates and, as well, and being pretty well-balanced people. So I just feel like they're going to be such a great fit together. Like Martin St. Louis is going to love coaching somebody like Lane Hutson, who can just read the game so well, has just, just such great mobility all over the ice, the skill. So anyway, I think the hype is just totally real for this kid.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, that's not the only thing they share, Jesse. They also share their height, roughly. Even though Lane Hutson's listed to 5'10", I guarantee if you stand next to each other, they're going to be pretty close. But again, Coach Marty knows what it takes to make the league as a guy of small stature. Now, obviously, Lane Hutson's a lot more hyped than Marty was at the same age, but just being able to transfer some of those skills is going to be very important. But clearly Lane is one of those guys that is, first in the gym, last one out kind of thing, right? If he's motivating his teammates at practice, that is the perfect thing. And just like, look, I know a lot of people want to say Lane Hutson's going to be a bona fide star for the Montreal Canadiens. And while he seems to have that potential, especially with this work ethic, whatever, I think it would still be a success if we saw him, like we kind of talked before the show, like what do you guys think as well in the comments? Let us know if you agree with this, with what I'm about to say, but like if Lane Hutson comes in and he's a second pairing left defenseman, maybe Cayden Guhle's your top guy, Lane Hutson comes in and he's a perennial second pairing defenseman who eats 15 to 18 minutes a night, but also quarterbacks your power play 1 every single night, and you can shelter him a little bit defensively. To me, that's still a very big success. A defenseman that you can rely on night in and night out offensively, I think is extremely valuable.
It's so true. And I could still see him being a great point scorer, in the NHL, getting, 40 to 50 points, early on in his NHL career, getting, 20, 30 plus goals even, right? I don't want to rule that out. I really think he's that type of player. In the future, I could see him doing it. Absolutely. He'll probably get a couple 20 goal seasons as he gets in, but I think even as a second pairing, it's definitely not the end of the world at all. And I think he'll just get better and better. Like a lot of teams are starting to have a Lane Hutson type prototype, like maybe not as small, but you're starting to see one or even two for some of the more forward-thinking teams. So definitely that transition of the type of defensemen around the league is happening right now.
It is, and Lane Hutson is going to be at the forefront of this movement. So, yeah, I mean, just about everything is going right in Habs land right now, despite maybe some preseason losses. We got a nice win against the Leafs. There's a lot of good things now. Just excited for the season. Only a week away, Jesse. We're so excited, and we'll be doing a lot of special things once the season starts. Maybe some live streams, maybe some special videos. We'll keep you guys updated, but thank you all for 8,000 subscribers if you're still around at this point in the video. We're on the road to 10. I know it's a hard goal to achieve, but we sincerely appreciate every single one of you who watch, especially to this point in the video. Thank you very much. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.